Welcome everybody to the Effective E-commerce Podcast. I'm going to be talking about some tools to help you review 2018 and plan for success in 2019. Then after that, I'm going to go into the lessons I personally learned in 2018, and I'll talk about some of my plans for 2019. Now, I'm going to try to keep this episode short and just packed with as much good information as possible. I recently went to Mexico for probably about 5 or 6 days to get away and to kind of reflect on 2018. Look at what was good, what happened that was good, what did not go as planned, and try to learn as many lessons from that as possible. Now, one of the first things I want to mention is if you haven't done this yet with 2018, I highly recommend going back, looking at any notes you have, any journals, in your calendar, anything you have to see what did you do during this last year, because it went by and it goes by every year very quickly. So that's the first thing I want to say is, take some time off from the day-to-day grind and do a review of 2018, and also take some time off to look at 2019, figure out what is it that you actually want. Plan out your goals, plan out everything that you really want, and see, is that realistic? Can you do more, maybe even? So anyways, the structure for today's episode is, first thing I'm going to do is go over the lessons learned. I'm going to give you the juice, everything that I learned in doing my review, and then I'll talk about this year's resolutions. And then I might get into revisiting last year's resolutions, talk a little bit about why they worked or why they failed, and some notes and thoughts on last year. I may or may not get into all this in this episode, but for sure I'm going to do the lessons learned and talk about my goals for this coming year. And specifically, a lot of this stuff is going to be business related. A lot of it's going to be around what I think is going to be working in business in 2019, and just some principles that I think could really help you, the listener, do this. So one of the first lessons I learned, and I probably have about 10 lessons learned, and then I have about 5 resolutions. So let's start. I didn't count exactly how many lessons learned I have, but it's right around 10. Each one of these probably is enough information to make its own podcast. So the first one is, I recommend doing a root cause analysis on anything that doesn't go the way you want. And specifically for me, Performance Nut Butter went very well this last year. Very well. I made more profit from Performance Nut Butter than I have anything else I've ever done, and I'm very happy about that. But it could have been bigger, and I actually didn't work very hard on Performance Nut Butter. And I don't say this to brag. I don't say this to sound down. It's just the truth. I did not spend that many hours last year on Performance Nut Butter. Now in 2017, I spent some time getting it ready, launching it on the Kickstarter, getting it ready to launch on Amazon. But in 2018, I didn't do very much to grow it. And my sales remained stable. They might have even increased a little bit. But I thought about this a lot. Why didn't I grow my sales for Performance Nut Butter? There are 2 main reasons why I didn't grow Performance Nut Butter more, why I didn't spend more time and energy. Because the truth is, I know what I'm doing when it comes to internet marketing, and I actually know that I could 3x, 4x, 5x Performance Nut Butter if I took it seriously. But why didn't I do that? And the first reason was I just didn't have enough inventory. I was always playing catch up. I felt like if I would have really blown it up and put all my energy into Performance Nut Butter, I felt like I would have ran out of inventory, because I constantly was getting close to running out of inventory. So if I were to market and spend more energy on it, that means I'd be selling more, which means that there's a high likelihood that I would have had a period of time where I didn't have any inventory in Amazon. And you don't want that to happen. That's a really negative thing that could happen. And I knew that. So the obvious answer is, well, why didn't you buy more inventory? Well, I tried to. I kept trying to, and it seemed like things were going wrong. It seemed like, and there were some issues with the manufacturer of my product. There was a few different issues, but the root cause behind all this not growing Performance Nut Butter was I just didn't have enough inventory. And the way that I personally work is I need to push myself. I need to buy more inventory than I think I can sell. And that motivates me, because then my back's against the wall. The second reason why I didn't spend as much time on Performance Nut Butter as maybe I could have And hopefully, these lessons can help you figure out some of your root causes. So the second reason I didn't spend as much time on performance nut butter as I probably should have was, to be honest, I was content. I finally was making, since I quit my job 5+ years ago, my goal had been $300 a day passive income. And last year I probably made more than that. Now, the term is passive, is relative. To me, performance nut butter is passive income because the truth is I wasn't working that many hours, probably working 3 or 4 hours a week. Obviously, I do have to do some work for performance nut butter, but working 4 hours a week has been my goal since I quit my job, making $300 a day income. And I hit that. So I hit that, and then there wasn't a lot of motivation to continue to grow. So to me, the real root cause was not having enough inventory. So to remedy that, I'll be talking about my plans in upcoming episodes, but I have a very, very solid plan to remedy that. Part of that is also because of cash flow. Basically, I'd have $30,000 in the bank, but to buy a production run costs $30,000. And by the time I got profit of $30,000 back, it's just this whole cycle. I'll talk about it more in another episode. So that's the first lesson. Do a root cause analysis. Figure out what is the real root cause. Why are you not doing the things you want to do? And it might go something like this. Well, I'm not working on performance nut butter. Why? Well, I don't really feel motivated. Why don't I feel motivated? Well, what's the point if I sell more inventory, then I'm just going to run out of inventory anyways. Well, why am I going to run out of inventory anyways? Because I don't have enough. Okay. So that's the first lesson learned. Next one we got up is recharge more. Go take vacation. Plan pillars earlier on. So one of the things I did for this year is I already bought a ticket. I'm taking the entire month of March and I'm going to the Philippines. And for at least 2 of those weeks, I'm going to be doing a yoga retreat. Another week, I'm probably going to be just traveling around. And then the last week, I might be meeting up with my virtual assistant team over there. But for the most part, this is a vacation. And I find that when I go on a vacation, when I come back, I have more energy, more clarity. And to be honest, what's the point of life? To me, the point of life is to enjoy it. And if you're always putting off that trip, that thing that you really want, I'm not saying everybody needs to go to the Philippines. Maybe for you, it's something totally different, but I find that when I take time off, I get a lot more clarity. And this is going to be one of my goals, actually. I'll talk about that goal later for this year. But this is just a wake-up call for everybody out there that hasn't taken a vacation in a year or two. Really get off the grid, get off your computer, get off your phone for a week or two and go do a yoga retreat. That's what like I said, I'm planning on doing. Or it doesn't have to be that. If you're not into that, just do something fun. Next up is one big lesson learned, and this is actually a bit of a private one in some senses, is that I'm worthy and deserve a good life. Now, this sounds hippie woo-woo probably to a lot of the people out there, but this is a big mental hurdle. Is constantly, for most of my life, I always thought that if I worked hard enough, in a few years, I would deserve X, Y, and Z. In a few years, I would deserve whatever it is. So one of the big things for me this year, one of the most important things from this year was moving into this new apartment. You can see behind me if you're watching the YouTube, although it's a little bit dark, but you see it in all my YouTube videos. This new apartment is in my dream location. I'm in the heart of Santa Monica. I'm walking distance and biking distance from just about anything and everything I'd want to go to. And that was probably the most important thing I did last year, was moving into this apartment. And there was a lot of resistance. This apartment costs $2,500 a month, which is more than most people's mortgage, but I love it. And it's been worth it. It's already led to me making more money. No joke. And I think a lot of people have this mindset. I used to have the mindset, I should say, that, well, spending money on a nice apartment, that's a waste. That's a waste of money. I don't see it that way. I see it as an investment. So the lesson learned is I'm worthy and deserve a good life because, you know what? Here's this thing I want. Pay for it. Buy it. I've got the money and I deserve to have the life of my dreams. And you out there listening, you deserve to have the life of your dreams. Now, maybe you can't afford certain aspects of it, but find what you can afford, find what you can do for yourself and really dig in and deserve it. So some other things I want to talk about. To me, the apartment was an investment. It was an investment in me because it made it so I was closer to a yoga studio, which means I go more often to the yoga studio. It's closer to a gym, a basketball court. I'm exercising more often being in this location. It's also just closer to a lot of friends and meetups and events, which means that I'm going to these events, these networking events more often. And the truth is, and this is something that's not quantifiable, but I feel better. I'm just a little bit, it's closer to the beach, I should say. That's been a huge thing. I've been going to the beach. I went to the beach this last year more than I've probably gone in, any 5-year period before that. It absolutely clears my mind. I love it. And before, I probably lived 2 miles from the beach, which is really freaking close, but I'd only go to the beach once every few weeks, where now I live probably about, quarter of a mile, half a mile away from the beach, and I go much more often. And it was just, it was one of the lead dominoes that led to so many other successes. So the point is, realize that you deserve the great life. And once again, I know this sounds like a hippie woo-woo thing, but it's true. So when I first looked at this apartment, I thought, no, it's too nice. It has a fireplace. Wow, I can't afford I can't afford a fireplace. Even though I think my range was up to $2,400 was the most I was going to spend. This was $2,500 a month. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's just get this. This place looks like my dream spot. An apartment that has a fireplace in an amazing location. Let's do it. So that number one lead domino, probably most important thing I did in 2018 was the apartment. The number two, and it might be tied for number one, most important thing was friends and masterminds I did. So I had one friend in particular, Mark, who's been in some of my YouTube videos, that I met with every week on Thursday for lunch. It was great. It cleared my head. It helped give me direction. He'd call me out on my BS. I also met with another friend, James, who's been in some of my YouTube videos on Thursdays. Without him, I don't know if Ariana and I would have been able to start Vino Cards. He found the designer for the Vino Cards. He found the manufacturer for the end product. Like, he made it so much easier for me to start Vino Cards. And he also helped with so many of my decisions. Same thing happened with Mark. Mark and James both really helped with my decisions. I had some other friends that helped out with all this as well. But this is another thing for most of my entrepreneurial career I undervalued, is the importance of having friends, not just regular friends, but also friends in the space. I recently got off the phone recently had a phone call with a college friend that is starting a new company, starting an app company. I think it's called Motivate, and it's an app where you can basically motivate people. You can give someone a gift card if they go run or something like that. So if you want to check it out. Leave him a 5-star review. He's been working really hard for the last year, and I could tell when I talked to him, he was really down. And I had 2 pieces of advice for him. The first one was, I'm like, he talked about how lonely it can be as an entrepreneur. And I'm like, okay, well, do you have any friends that are also entrepreneurs? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, well, that's probably the most important thing I think you can do is go make some friends that are entrepreneurs. The second element, and we'll get back to the first one in a second. The second element is, are you taking any courses? Are you reading any books? Are you listening to podcasts on how to create and launch an app? And he's like, no. And this is a very smart guy. This guy went to USC, which is a pretty good college. It's a really good college here in LA. He's a very smart guy. And I'm like, well, what do you expect to happen? You're not following anyone, and you don't have anyone to bounce off your ideas with. It's very, very hard to succeed in that kind of environment. So what I found for me personally is if I'm learning a new skill, I very often want to either find a book, a podcast, or a course on it. And that's part of the reason behind launching the Passion Product Formula. I did the beta, you might have heard in the last few episodes, but I'm going to be launching the real course in June, because I really think it helps when you can follow a straight up formula and you just apply your own knowledge to it. I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent here. So let me go back to the friends thing. But the other part, he talked about how lonely it is. And I can't even describe to you some of the lonely moments I had in entrepreneurship, especially when I would move to a new city or a new country completely by myself. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends there, and it was really hard to make new friends. The difference now, having friends in the space, has been mind-blowing, because I'll spend days just with these trying to debate something in my head, trying to figure out what the right thing to do is. And then all of a sudden, I'll go talk to a friend, and the answer is so obvious. He just looks at me and he's like, "What are you talking about? Like, obviously, this is what you should do." And I'm like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." So this is actually a message for myself, because I'm probably going to re-listen to this. Focus on friends, but this is also a message for you if you're at any stage. Focus on the friends and mastermind partners, because the percent that they can help you out is just it's the like the lead domino for sure. All right, so that was a little bit of a tangent. One of the things I think that I made a big mistake of last year was I was kind of floating around. So instead of just floating around in the sense of I wasn't really sure what I was going to be doing week to week, now I have what I call sprints. This comes from, I think, like Agile. It's like a project management style, or I forget the correct exact term. But basically, I'm going to strategize each 4-week period as kind of like a big sprint, and then each week period is an individual sprint. So what do I mean by this? So in February, I plan on working on Performance Nut Butter. So the goal in February, the whole goal is to launch a lead page and start driving traffic to it. So how am I going to do this? Well, the first step, before I even launch a lead page, I should probably have some kind of an email sequence. So the first week, the sprint, the task is create an email sequence and launch it. And that's 100% what I'm focusing on. So, and then the next week, it's, let's say, create the funnel. And then the next week is drive the traffic to it. So I have a very specific target, and I'm making little steps every week to it. In 2018, I did not do that as much as I would like. I kind of was unsure. And another part of this is having a specific outcome that I want to happen. So a good example of this might be I wanted a binary result of launching or not launching the Passion Product Formula course. So what did I do? I sent out an email saying, "Hey everybody, I'm launching the course." I think it was January 8th. I'm launching the course January 8th. At this point, I knew that my measurement for success was whether or not I launch it. Same thing's going to be true with Performance Nut Butter. The barometer of success for Performance Nut Butter is that I launch the funnel or not. Now, my end goal is to be doing $100,000 revenue a month with Performance Nut Butter. But to get there, I have it all small chunked out with specific dates that everything needs to get done by. And one big thing is if you can even hold yourself further accountable. So now with Performance Nut Butter, I have specific dates that I want things to get done by, but I don't really have any external pressure like I did when I was launching the Passion Product Formula beta course. I told everybody it was going to be out by this time. So I had to get all the moving pieces together. We're about halfway done with all the lessons learned, and then I'm going to get into my goals. But hopefully this is helping you. Hopefully, there's some lesson learned that you get from this that applies to you. Another thing I noticed for me personally was I'm big on reviewing and I'm big on planning, but there was never an end date. So it kind of would drag on. So what I'm trying to do to counteract that is having a specific day/time where I do my planning. And then after that, it's work time. What I would do is, planning's Monday mornings, but then it wouldn't be done. And I'd kind of just float around. I'm like, well, Tuesday came and there's no planning. I got to plan on Tuesdays. The other part of that was I like to do monthly and quarterly plans as well. And in the past, I'd be like, maybe I'll do it, let's say, April 1st. That sounds like a good day to do the quarterly planning. But then something would come up April 1st and I wouldn't do it. So to counteract this, I'm taking vacations. Basically, I'm taking vacations every 4 weeks, and every other vacation, I want to take a long one. So basically, let's say January 31st, I'm taking like a 2-day vacation. But then March 1st, the whole month of March, I'm going off to the Philippines. Then again, at the end of April, I'm planning on taking at least 2 or 3 days off. And then at the beginning, for the month of June, I'm going to basically take most of the month of June off. And the idea is to have this structured time, and the whole point is to get away, review, plan, and come back stronger. Because I really do believe that when you have a plan in mind, you are stronger, but it's very easy for this to float and take too long. So I want, you got to be structured and spending just enough time planning and enough time doing the action. One of the things I did during my yearly review, and I recommend you doing, is look at what are your best moments? What are your best days? And I have a whole list of them. And I looked at what are they, then the next step is, what do these things have in common? And I found for me, some of the things that were in common were being outside. All my best moments for the most part came from when I was outside. Almost all my best moments came from being around other people. And almost all my best moments generally came from doing some kind of activity. So now that being said, how do I use this information? I'm going to take this information and try to plan those kind of activities, outside activities, being with other people and doing something. So that might mean playing flag football for me. I enjoy that. Going and playing basketball. Playing sports is a really good thing for me personally because it ticks all my boxes. It gets me moving, it gets me exercise, and it gets me outside and around other people, obviously. Now, how this might work for you might be totally different, but I recommend looking at what are your best moments and the things that you like the most. On the flip side, what were your worst days? What were the things that you disliked doing the most? And there's a few different lessons I learned from this. One, I realized that the days that I disliked the most were the days where I was full of anxiety. And every once in a while, I have a day where I'm full of anxiety. And what I realize, one of the patterns I see is I'm more prone to anxiety after not exercising for 3 or 4 days, or 3, 4 more days. I need to go get my heart pumping. And for me personally, I can't really go for a jog. It's a long story. I can't jog because of some old injuries. But funny enough, I can play sports just fine. So I find that I need to make sure I plan playing more sports. Because the benefit of jogging is you can do it on your own, and sports you kind of can't. You kind of need to plan it ahead of time because there's only certain times that other people can do it. So I'm using this information to try to improve my year, try to improve my life. All right, so this is going to be the last lesson learned, and then we're going to go into my resolutions and goals for this year. And that is, whenever possible, simplify and make things fun. If you have work that you're doing and you don't enjoy it, figure out, is there something you could do that would make it easy to do and maybe even fun? So for me, one of the big things I realized this year was the vlogs were a lot of effort for very little result. Now, I enjoy doing them, but I stopped enjoying doing them. And part of the reason was because I was carrying around my camera, my big, DSLR camera, a lot of places, and I wasn't enjoying the moment as much as I probably could. So instead, from now on, what I'm going to do is just use my phone for B-roll. B-roll, for those that don't know, is, as I'm talking, showing like some scenes. So maybe I say, yeah, we went to a new brunch spot, and just showing like walking in the brunch spot and showing eating. So my goal is to take out my camera less and just take out my camera less and just use my phone for more of the B-roll, because then I can really enjoy the moment, but I can still include that in my vlog. I'm also probably going to be doing a weekly vlog that encapsulates my entire week versus a daily vlog. I was doing a vlog once a week that would show my entire day, but that's just too much work. I think it'd be easier to do it over the course of a week. More information, I'm actually really excited about this. More information about that will be coming out soon. The idea would be, as I talked about earlier, maybe I spend a week setting up my email sequence, and during the course of that week, I show you everything that I'm doing, what it actually looks like to write out an email sequence. All right, so that was a lot of information right there. Let's talk about my resolutions for this year. And hopefully, once again, I'm only doing this because I think that someone out there might learn something from what I have to say. Maybe not. Maybe I can learn something from you, but I put a lot of work and a lot of energy into this stuff. So hopefully it's something that could be helpful. So my resolutions for this year is I want to implement the Performance Nut Butter Success Plan. And specifically, my real goal is selling 120 units a day on average, having a $100,000 revenue month. That might even be a better one. Have 1 month where I do $100,000 revenue. So that's the first goal. Goal number 2, launch the Passion Product Formula. So in probably summertime, I'm going to be launching the Passion Product Formula. I'm obviously taking people through the beta version of the course right now. I want to perfect it. I want to dial this in. I want to make this the most amazing course it possibly can be. But just to point something out, goal 1 and goal 2 are very, very, very different. And the reason I say that is goal 1 is basically to have a $100,000 revenue month. Now, I'm not fully in control of that. I can try, I can do things, like I make steps towards it, but at the end of the day, I can't control whether or not that happens. But goal number 2, launching the passion product formula, I have pretty much full control over that. It's a binary decision. Either I launch it or I don't. Where for goal number 1, it's a little bit more fluid in the sense of, man, maybe I tried everything I could and just the market crashed, like for keto and paleo snacks. All right, let's go to number 3. Number 3 for me is enjoy life more. Now, that's not a good goal in itself because it's not measurable. It's not really, it's like up to me to decide if I have a good life, if I'm enjoying life. So to make it a little bit more specific, and I'm still working on the wording of this, it's going to be enjoy life by taking vacations every 4 weeks and a bigger one every other month or so. I'm going to probably add some more things to that in the sense of I want to enjoy my work weeks as well. And that might be by sprinkling in fun activities. I don't know exactly what that's going to be yet. I do have a success plan that I worked on. I might share that later or in the bonus part of this episode. Let's see what else we got. All right, number 4 is have a happy, healthy body. But that's not the real goal. The real goal is to be able to jog for 30 minutes, touch my toes, and do 15 pull-ups all without pain. Now, right now I could probably jog for 30 minutes, but it actually hurts my hip. And it's a long conversation about what's going on there. But it's funny because I can play sports just fine. And I think it's because my mind's distracted. When I'm playing sports, my brain is out of the equation and I'm just like having fun in the moment reacting. But then when I go in and try to just jog, I think my mind actually kind of gets in the way. So to overcome this, there's a lot of things that I'm going to be doing, but part of it's just retraining my body on the proper mechanics for jogging. And then touching the toes. You might remember, this was actually my goal for last year. I still can't touch my toes. I can if I bend my knees, obviously, but I can't do like a straight-legged toe touch. And the reason this failed was I didn't measure it. I'd say the reason that all my fitness goals for last year did not go as planned is because I didn't measure them. The last one is the pull-ups. I can do 15 pull-ups, but not with proper form, and it ends up hurting my shoulder. So I'm working on that as well. And so one idea I recently had is I'm going to print out like an Excel sheet and track this. And not track how close am I getting to the goal per se, but track on how much work am I doing to get closer to the goal. So what I mean by this is every day that I go for like a light jog, I'm gonna just write down, I went for a light jog and say I went for 8 minutes without any pain. Pain started at like 9-minute mark. I did 4 sets of 5 pull-ups or whatever it is with perfect form. And then for the straight leg toe touch, I'll just constantly measure, or every day before I sit in this chair, I'll measure how close am I to the ground. Right now I'm about 2 inches, so I'm pretty close. This was my goal for last year, so I did work on it, but hopefully I'll get that. And my last goal, and this is a very important one for me, is a weekly 4+ person entrepreneur mastermind group. I think this will really help me out. And so this is something I really want to do and I'm really excited about. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, this episode, that's everything I got. I got a lot of lessons learned there. And please go to iTunes, leave a 5-star review for a chance to win a free one-on-one consulting session with me. It also just means a lot. When you leave that review on iTunes, it helps me to get better guests. It helps let me know that you actually care about the podcast and that you're listening. Other than that, I'm going to probably be doing a part 2 of this episode, but I won't post it on iTunes just because I won't post it to all the Stitcher, iTunes, any of that stuff, because I don't know. The next level stuff is more personal stuff, and I don't know if everybody wants to hear that per se. Starting next week, we're probably going to do Ariana's story, and then I have some guests that are going to be coming on, some really high-level guests that I'm really excited about. So again, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Go to iTunes, leave that 5-star review, and I'll see you in the next episode.